How do you continue to give back and make an impact in the communities where you not only work and serve, but also live?
So thinking about different types of employers, you've got the large employees versus small organizations. Do you see that differing in terms of how DE&I impacts?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, the size of an organization plays a role. I've, interacted with many organizations, and size comes into play because, larger organizations generally have more resources. I think scales come into play as well. What are the programs, what are the initiatives, what are the resources that you have that ultimately support your strategy? And funding, of course, is, it takes an investment, right? And so, had conversations with organizations to say, I just don't have the amount of funding that a large organization actually has to really invest in some of these programs. So it's ultimately becomes around like, how do you leverage your internal organization based on your size and based on also, I think, what's important for you.
So thinking about small organizations like the 50 and below employees, to your point, there's less levers to pull. Mm-hmm. And so what kind of strategies can they go through in terms of trying to attract diverse talent?
So I would say number one, there's a lot of local organizations that companies can actually partner with to help to attract talent. Those could be, non-for-profit organizations, there's educational institutions. So I do think that there's an opportunity that would be more at a lower cost to gain partnerships in the local community. I think the other thing that I would actually say is there's a lot of organizations, as I mentioned, that are all already focused on the development of talent that are non-for-profit organizations. So, for example, there's organizations that I know that have career centers where they help with interviewing skills, or they help with, mentorships, or just being prepared for the workforce. What a great opportunity for any size organization.
How does an employer use the DE&I strategy in order to retain and attract?
I will tell you time and time again, as we're talking to candidates ask the question around truly, what is our strategy around inclusion and diversity? You get more questions there than sometimes you even get around some of the roles and the opportunities that are available. So you want to make sure that you have a culture that allows people to really flourish, to allow that their differences, the creativity that they bring from a problem-solving standpoint, the opportunity to grow and develop their career is really embedded into your culture. And I think that really truly plays an instrumental role in individuals actually staying with an organization.
There's a lot of, I'll say, progress. So you think about the good to great movement. So how does a company or an organization continue that momentum?
I think the first thing that you have to realize is that it is a journey. Inclusion and diversity is not, I do something right now and I'm finished tomorrow. You have to truly realize that it's a journey, and evolution actually occurs based on, as we talked earlier, around things that are happening in your organization, things that are happening, in the market. For example, just even technology advancements have an impact on the continued efforts around inclusion and diversity. So number one is realizing that it's a journey. I think secondarily is ultimately communicating. So you cannot communicate one time and think that you've communicated a strategy and that people will just respond. You have to make sure that it is not just, a one-time effort from a communication standpoint. And I think also that just the evolution of the initiatives that you actually put in place, plays a role. And I would say finally, listen to your workers. Your workers will be very helpful with helping to educate you along the way, because a strategy around inclusion and diversity is one for the entire organization, not just me who sits in this seat, not just the leadership team, for the overall organization.
There's a lot in terms of complex dynamics, and it requires a long-term plan that can shift as the workforce evolves. So remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Thanks again.
Thank you, Tina.
And thank you for joining us for this Workforce Newsroom Spotlight on Inclusion at Work.